Hi everyone, I'm Elsa Limset. I work as an environmental engineer at BRGM, and I'm going to present you briefly the main results from the SOLVAL project, which looked into how soil values are understood and recognized in land use planning system. Our project ran from December 2020 to November 2021. So the SOLVAL consortium was made of 4 institutes, which brought multidisciplinary and complementary expertise from France and Wallonia. BRGM was the project leader and brought its expertise on soil science and stakeholder interface. The CNAM and the CERES of Université Catholique de Louvain brought legal expertise for both France and Wallonia, respectively. The CREAT, Université Catholique de Louvain, brought its expertise in spatial planning and territorial development strategy. And Biotop brought its expertise in ecological science for soil ecosystems. And our project was funded by ADEME and SPWay. So the overall aim of the SOLVAL project was to assess whether and how soil biodiversity functions and related ecosystem services that we called under the project soil values are or could be better recognized in land use planning and development in France and Wallonia. And this especially in the perspective of the European No Net Land Take objective by 2050. So we had specifically 4 objectives to address. First, carrying out a state-of-the-art on technical solutions and land management tools that integrate soil values, assessing the degree and legal challenges of soil values integration in domestic law with regard to land use planning instruments and decision-making process in particular, carrying out consultation on perception, needs and difficulties amongst our relevant stakeholders in France and Wallonia. And finally, we were looking into improving the knowledge by drafting a series of fact sheets and drawing recommendations within 2 policy briefs and a note on R&D needs. Okay, so maybe I could summarize the SOLVAL products because it's they're quite numerous with the main reports it delivered. So the full details of our state-of-the-art and legal analysis can be found in our Work Package 2 report. There, the technical state of the art looked specifically on the soil refunctionalization solutions and related decision support tools, and also soil quality knowledge organization, as well as the legal assessment. The full detail of the consultation methods, results, and analysis with French and Walloon stakeholders can be found in our Work Package 3 report. And we have a short report where we reported on our analysis of all of this data. And we then drafted a series of fact sheets on soil refunctionalization solution, the tools and some key planning tools, and also the way soil quality knowledge is organized across France and Wallonia. And these documents are really easy to read, and they are mainly targeting local authorities or project land development project managers or planning. And finally, we also managed to draft recommendation on how to better integrate soil values concept at policy level in these 2 policy briefs, one for France and one for Wallonia. And we have this short report as well on R&D needs. All of these documents can be downloaded from the SOLVAL page on the Solvay website, and also I heard today it's also you can also find them on the ADEME website. Okay, so now I'd like to zoom in on how the consultation were carried out for both our French and Walloon stakeholders following the state-of-the-art and legal analysis. So basically, we organized 2 consultations that looked into how soil quality is taken into account in land planning and development, what solutions or modalities are implemented, what are the drivers, the barriers for this implementation. And we were happy, we obtained quite a lot of response, up to 270 responses from the web survey, which targeted mainly the current state of practice on soil quality consideration. And the web cafe, we managed with 28 participants, to gain expert views with legal, technical, and research background on soil quality considerations. So here, I'd like now to present you the key messages from the legal assessments results. So soil quality is a concept that is implicit but not defined in French law. The concept is being used according to these uses with utilitarian values, but actually quite rarely with environmental values. Taking soil quality into account is also rarely a source of obligation in France, but we do observe progressive recognition of these soil ecological functions in legal text, such as the French 2021 law on climate and resilience. So Solval recommended in its French policy brief to provide a legal definition for soil that integrates its multifunctionality to be used in urban planning documents particularly. And this is because we feel that as long as there is no binding text, planners will not set up developments that take into account soil quality. We also recommended to continue developing soil quality indicators relating to ecological soil functions, and to use them, for example, for soil quality, future soil quality ecological status. In Wallonia, soil is recognized as an integral part of the common heritage of the Walloon region. The concept of soil quality is also only used in the soil decree with regard to contaminated land management, but is not defined like in France. So the Walloon Code also that regulates the soil uses does not refer to the concept of soil quality, despite considering soil as a non-extensive resource and as a natural element. And so two propositions were made in the Walloon policy brief. One of them was to propose to have a map of soil quality assessment, but supported by the soil decree. And also to propose that the decision of the planning authorities which affect soil quality should be regulated using a soil quality test. And the purpose of this test would be to make soil quality interest legally binding. Okay. Now, under the state of the art, we also reviewed three main solutions of soil refunctionalization. So these solutions, they allow for the improvement of a large part of the geological, geochemical, and hydrogeomorphological processes, which are the basis for functions provided by soils. So generally speaking, these techniques are still not widely used, like especially with phytoremediation, or we do not have enough experience feedback, like for the desealing on built-up sites, or we are still at the research stage, like for soil construction and reconstitution. Although for this one, this is less and less true, as in the past few months, we do observe this kind of solution being more and more operational in France. So also from the review, we observed that numerous research projects that are interested in these solutions, and so we do see more and more demonstration projects, but it's just starting. Although one thing to highlight as well was the constraints still associated with this solution, like the regulatory framework not being in place, soil pollutions, or also not enough demonstration sites with easy access data. That's something that came across from our consultation and the review as well. Okay, so the review on of soil quality knowledge has highlighted that first of all, that for both France and Wallonia, we observe numerous data or related to soil quality, despite no shared definition for soil quality. But in France, we do observe that more data are covering agricultural soils, and we do have less of them on urban soils. The review and consultations highlighted that there are currently barriers to data dissemination in France, like with accessibility, availability, and also the format for data quality still remain heterogeneous. And so, but we do observe and understood that data owners are now willing for more data interoperability and more links between the existing database. On the other side, with regard to Wallonia, we observe that access to soil quality data is relatively easy through the Walloon GeoPortal, as they have interoperable standards developed and being used. However, it is still needed to make the available data better known and provide more training for data users. That's also came out from our consultations. Okay, and to finish off with the tools, the French and Walloon review of decision supporting tools that actually help to evaluate soil refunctionalization projects. They showed that these tools were being developed in the past 10 years, and most of them are being developed considering either ecological functions or ecosystem services, and sometimes both, but rarely. And they are mainly for agricultural and urban sites ecosystems. This tool, but it is still being difficult for these tools. We observed that to link the soil functions with the ecosystem services, with all the relevant ecosystem services for a specific site. And today we see that only a very few tools are freely available, and these ones are mainly provide support in considering ecosystem services, not so much ecological soil functions, or they are not freely available. And so the main conclusion from the review is and also from the consultation, was that there is a very strong need in knowledge transfer towards the stakeholders. Indeed, this was highlighted during our consultation, where the stakeholders actually have shown strong interest in these tools, but telling us that actually they didn't know they existed or where they were on how to use these tools. Okay, and to finish off with our Solval results, R&D needs, as I've said earlier on, were listed at the end of the project. They cover major topics that could be examined in the short, medium, or long term to facilitate the consideration of soil quality in land use planning and management. As the list is long, I decided to only give you a few examples today. So the need for strengthen knowledge, on soil quality in terms of ecological functions and make it accessible to planning and development stakeholders was identified as one of them. For example, defining the soil parameters to collect and that we actually need them for evaluating soil ecological function is one of this key need. And also, as I mentioned already, improving data interoperability is one of them. I could also mention the need to strengthen the operationality of the tools that can support soil refunctionalization projects. For example, by proposing the most relevant ecological soil function indicators that can also to help us optimizing any monitoring and evaluation for a land management project. And another example and final example is the need to transfer knowledge towards our stakeholders and support them using this knowledge, whether tools or data quality, to have this and help them as well having this systemic vision of land management, integrating the concept of soil quality. Okay, if I should finish off with the impact of the Solval results, although for us, we still think it's a bit early to appreciate the real impacts, we can still dress a first list. But, well, first of all, we managed to make recommendations on prioritized R&D needs to fit, for example, future calls of the Solval platform. It was also obvious that we raised awareness on quality concepts, the solution for soil refunctionalization and existing database, with all the consulted external stakeholders we had during the project. And some of the consulted stakeholders actually have been kept asking us for all our deliverable publications. So now we are going to go back to them quite soon on that, as it's all published. And also the consortium, we shared our expertise in supporting some French and Walloon national artificialization groups during specific meetings at the very beginning of the project. And of course, we observed co-benefits from the collaboration amongst the partners, building on each other's experience. On another level, we could say that the overall Solval product could encourage stakeholders from various backgrounds to work together at better considering soil values in land management. And we could say, in particularly with regard to the legal aspects and also the state of the art and the perception of what is available and in what format and the accessibility is something quite important to the stakeholders. And we understand that the review of definition and the full panorama we've done of the soil refunctionalization techniques, which is relatively new, should be well used. I could also say a few words in regard to the connection to other projects. As you see, I'm not going to go into detail into the list, but we can see that numerous projects, whether in France or in Wallonia, at European or even at international levels, if I mention the newly started working ISO group on soil functions, all of these projects They are still considering and working on a better integration of soil quality. And also our French and Walloon networks are working towards sharing and transferring knowledge. And yeah, this project, some of them are looking into soil function indicators. Some of them are specific to agricultural ecosystems. Some of them are for urban ecosystems, but they do all have in common to look into soil quality. The research done in Solval relate to the new soil strategy in many ways. I could say, first of all, under the Solval project, we see soil as a global resource. We saw it as a global, and we still see it as a global resource. And that should be assessed according to its multiple ecological functions. Also, Solval encouraged a more systematic view of land management, which links to Circular Land Economy Directive and the No Net Land Take objectives, which are, in fact, encourage to deliver as many land services as possible. And also the research focused on artificialized soil, encouraging soil refunctionalization, technical solutions that go beyond what we already know of the simple management of contaminated land. And this is clearly feeding into one of the technical drivers sought by Europe. And overall, Solval analysis and conclusions encourage considering the ecological soil quality, and in particular, not only, but also without the human uses that we usually consider in land management. And to finish off with my presentation, in terms of follow-up, this is the few items that we put together with the consortium. We have identified some possible follow-up action. First of all, we would like to write a review paper on with a joint legal and technical perspective. And some of the partners have already some or ongoing recently started projects related to the topics I mentioned, like Désiville for BRGM or Indicasol for the CNAM. We could be ready to feed some of our results into the consultation call for evidence for impact assessment linked to the soil strategy. And also, it is very clear that we're going to contribute to the ISO working group on soil function and ecosystem services, as there is a project of writing a standard on soil ecological indicators. And with regard to further collaboration, we haven't had time to further discuss this in detail with the partners, but we could maybe consider widening our review, including other members from the EU or non-EU countries, also trying to encourage the creation of a platform where we could have a soil refunctionalization demonstration data being available to all. Yeah, so that's just some ideas, but as it's just finished not long ago, we need to get together again for that. Okay, so I think that's it, and I'm going to thank you for your attention and wait for your questions.
Thank you, Elsa. So you can use the discussion part to ask for some questions. There's some in the discussion. The first one from Dietmar Müller. You state that the recommendation for making a soil quality test legally binding counts only for Wallonia. Mm-hmm. Correct? And if yes, why not for France?
Okay, it's just the recommendation were written, well, both legal assessments were done in parallel. We had we were lucky to have a French specialist and a Walloon specialist. None of them are here today, so I hope I'm not going to say anything silly, but basically they did their reviews in parallel. For the conclusion, we did try to to compare the results. But for the recommendation, they both went for specific recommendation. Our specialist, Maëlys Desrousseaux, she focused more into for pledging for soil definitions linked with soil quality. And Aurélien Huc from the CRS UCL went for these two suggestions. But basically, you're right, we could have gone for one policy brief. Yeah, it was just that they went for specific, I think maybe they went for what was really relevant for each territory, but of course I wouldn't see why not. We could go for the soil quality test in France, unless some of our French partner. Oh, Maëlys is here.
Maëlys is present.
Do you want to?
Yes, hello.
Why would we be able, Maëlys, to propose a soil quality test, do you think, in France?
Yes, we would be eventually, but the work would be huge, and the recommendation that we made in the policy brief was in accordance with the level of development of each regulation in both regions and countries, and the elements that are already implemented in Wallonia made this quality test more possible quickly, more easily than we could do it in France. And before we do that in France, we need first a definition.
Okay, step by step.
Yes.
We have another question from Esther Goetz. Could we combine both approaches linked to land use and ecological functioning of soil to legally define soil quality instead of recommending only ecological functioning?
Can I ask Maëlys to answer this one again? Did you?
For sure, yeah.
Question? Thank you, Maëlys.
Which question is that?
It's the question from Esther. Could we combine both approaches linked to land use and ecological functioning of soil to legally define soil quality instead of recommending only ecological functioning? Because it's true, we were very much focused on the ecological functioning in our recommendation.
Yeah, that's the point of departure, but I think it's the direction we are heading, to combine the both approaches.
Okay.
And today I've just read an article on the release of the consultation procedure for the decree on soil artificialization.
How is it? It came out today.
The table of what is artificialized and what is not is under consultation from today.
Okay. Okay, thank you, Maëlys.
Thank you. Maybe last.
ISO question you want me to answer? Is there already an approval for adopting a future ISO on soil ecosystem servicing as a SEN? At the moment, we haven't made any proposal at ISO level with the ISO experts. It's going to happen, I think, to be formalized at the next TC 190 WG3 meeting in June. And I think once, if a project with a standard on ecological soil function is formalized in the following months, I suppose this is going to be discussed in parallel for the European level, but that's something I can bring forward to the group next time. This was from Dietmar. Yeah, I hope is good enough for Dietmar. Dietmar, you can get in touch with me or outside the meeting to discuss this.